Welcome, everyone. My name is Megan Ferreter. I'm the project coordinator for the Smithsonian Transcription Center. And with me is Anacostia Community Museum archivist Jennifer Morris.
Hello.
Who's taking time to share information with us today about the Bladensburg Union Burial Association records, the collection that's held here, as well as the story of the Plummer family and how that integrates with the wider community and the legacy of their activities here in this region. So again, I want to say welcome to everyone and let you know that if you want to communicate with us during the Hangout, you can tweet at us. You can tweet at TranscribeSI or also tweet at Anacostia Museum. If you have further questions, you can also email us, transcribe@si.edu. And if we don't get an opportunity to answer your question today, we'll follow up with you. So we're going to talk about some members' minutes records, which we have already transcribed in the Transcription Center. That launched in last year, and the project number is 7769 if you wanted to look at that. We had 57 people from around the world contributing to this project, which was really exciting. They transcribed 156 pages from cities including Glastonbury, Washington, D.C., Shanghai, O'Hara Township, Pennsylvania, San Francisco, and many more. So today we're going to start off by learning from Jennifer about her work as an archivist here, as well as some of the really interesting collections she gets to work with every day. So Jennifer, welcome again. Thank you for spending time with our volunteers.
Of course.
And can I ask you to tell us a little bit more about your role?
Sure. As the archivist here at the Anacostia Community Museum, I work with the collections manager to maintain physical and intellectual control over select collections. I also oversee the archival processing and cataloging and reference because we are a small unit. So I know it seems like a lot, but we are a small
agile little trade. Great.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of your areas of interest in relation in the archival world and elsewhere as well?
I am interested in the care and preservation of family papers and also community archives and how local communities preserve and take care of their collections and their history and how they fit in the national narrative.
And how often do you have the opportunity to interact with the public who are coming in to make reference requests in this region?
Actually a lot, because I handle all of the requests that come in. So actually a lot. And it's funny because we get a lot of requests in reference from outside
the
community.
How did you become interested in this kind of work in the first place?
That's a funny story. Well, I started a long ago, working with curators and actually conducting research for them. So I would go to places like the National Archives, Library of Congress, historical societies, and also work with collectors, private collectors. And what I was most impressed with is when I would go do research at the repositories, the knowledge of the librarians and the archivists, they just knew a lot about their resources, and they were very helpful in pointing me in the right directions and collections. And at the time, not a whole lot was digitized and available. So it was very helpful. And I decided I wanted to change what I wanted to do and want to focus on working behind the scenes and work to assist and help curators and researchers locate information and make things more discoverable. And then it just fits my personality better to be behind the scenes.
Well, I think that's really inspiring that you went and had the experience of people helping you and you said, I want to do that too. I can make that happen. I'm going to go behind the scenes and connect people. And now as we're making things more available digitally, you have even greater opportunity to do that more quickly, don't you?
Right, I do.
So what are some of the best parts of your job here at Anacostia Community Museum?
Well, I get to work with treasures every day, and not very many people can say that. They're not all iconic, that what we think of at the Smithsonian, but what they are, they're materials that really document people's lives, community organizations, and also institutions that really help to serve, build, and shape the American experience. For example, we have a collection of autograph books that were created by Percival Bryan. And he was actually an immigrant from Jamaica, and he came to America as a stowaway, actually, on a boat. And he made his way to Washington, D.C., and he ended up working at the White House as first a butler, then a chauffeur, and then at the end of his career, he was a taxi cab driver. And so his autograph books, which are about a little over 200, includes names, signatures of notable people, but also the average everyday American who he came in contact with through his work. And there's so many like expressions and things like that of what was going on at the time. Like during World War II, there are lots of signatures and expressions, people talking about the war, and then it's always during the civil rights movement as well.
Right.
So that's really, those are the type of things I like to work on and make accessible to the public. Like, hey, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 3 available in the transcription.
That's right.
Center.
Yeah, volunteers help transcribe that. What were some of your favorite inscriptions that have now been transcribed by volunteers from those autograph books? I remember a couple of, the combination of and every woman just kind of saying, yeah, thank you for the ride. And then I think there were also some military leaders as well as other politicians whose signatures I saw.
Right. He got a lot of cabinet members,
Mm-hmm.
President Roosevelt. So, and one thing he said, he always wanted to get his signature, but he never did. He wasn't brave enough to approach him to get his signature.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
And how did you acquire that collection?
Percival Bryan used to live right across the street.
Wow. I'm looking out this giant, you can see we're very bright today.
Uh-huh.
We're also color coordinated, but we're looking out across this bright window, and I can literally see across the street. That's
Mm-hmm.
very amazing.
Yes, he did. And he felt that his family didn't want to keep the collection, and so he worked with one of our curators, late curators, Portia James, and she brought in the collection.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that story.
Oh, you're welcome.
So are there any additional stories that you'd like to tell?
Let's see. Actually, I just want to also mention that as part of my job, something that I like is helping small organizations. We get a lot of calls from small organizations who ask about the care of their materials. So sometimes I actually go on to meetings or something and talk to them about preserving their material. And it can be as simple as sending them an email. I like to send emails to Smithsonian Institution Archives resource page. They have a great resource page. So I actually send that out to them, and they're very appreciative of that. Yeah, so
that's fantastic. At the end of this Hangout, I'm going to summarize some of the things that we've talked about today, and I'll include that resource page. So if you're a small organization or you're interested in preserving family papers, you can use that as a resource, as Jennifer typically recommends that. So yeah, let's talk about one more story maybe that you can share.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Our current project that I'm working on is processing the Diane Dale personal papers and collection. She is a local artist, author, and community historian. And a couple of years ago, she wanted to donate her collection to us. However, she was working on some projects, and so she didn't want it to donate all at once. So we agreed to let her donate it in units, accretions. And so, but then she did also offer to help us process the collection. At first, I was a little hesitant because, okay, she's a donor, she wants to come in and help processing, but it has proven to be a very good experience because she is a wealth of knowledge, and to listen to her weave facts and dates together to tell these unknown stories about documents is just fascinating, and it provides really a rich and textured view of the collection.
It's basically like an everyday oral history that's occurring as you're processing the collection.
Exactly.
And then you're also building a finding aid with that as well?
Yes.
That's really fascinating. Look forward to being able to explore that.
Yes, soon.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and move forward a little bit, and we're going to talk about the Bladensburg Union Burial Association. Excuse me. Before we start, could you just give a little context on the Bladensburg area and how that connects with Anacostia Community Museum?
Actually, as far as connecting with it, it was a donor, actually, a relative,
right.
A great nephew of Henry Vinton Plummer, who was the founder
right.
of the Bladensburg Union Burial Association, donated to us.
Right, and I think that
it's right outside Washington, D.C.
That's right. I think about 8 miles outside of D.C.,
right.
And which is very near to us right now. And so I know that you will talk a little bit more about the donors in this presentation that you're going to give. So we're going to start a slide share. We're going to share the screen with you while Jennifer explains a little bit more about the background of the Plummer family, this particular collection, as well as the potential for research from what has been transcribed by volunteers. So bear with us one moment as we bring that forward. All right, Jennifer.
All right, so I would like to start by giving a little biographical information on Henry Vinton Plummer that you see here. He's the founder, of course, of Bladensburg Union Burial Association. He was the eldest son of Adam Francis Plummer and Emily Saunders Plummer. They were both enslaved on 2 different plantations in Prince George's County, Maryland. Adam was on Riverdale, and Emily was on Three Sisters Plantation. And if we can, please. And here are 2 photographs. The photograph of Adam F. Plummer was actually taken from a book written by his daughter, Nellie Plummer. And the photograph of Emily Saunders is a reproduction of an image in our collection. Henry escaped slavery in 1862, and he went to the District of Columbia, where he had an aunt. And later he joined the Union Navy during the Civil War. He was honorably discharged, and then he received his pastoral training from Wayland Seminary in Washington, D.C. And this seminary actually provided education and training for freemen to enter to Baptist ministry. And in 1876, he became the 3rd pastor of St. Paul Baptist Church, which was founded by another one of his sisters, Sarah Miranda Plummer, in 1866. Another fact about Henry Vinton Plummer was he was the first African-American to become appointed United States Army chaplain in the regular Army in 1884. And actually, it was Frederick Douglass was one of the many people who provided him a recommendation. Unfortunately, after 10 years of service, he was dishonorably discharged due to alleged allegations of actions unbecoming to an officer. And in 2005, Plummer's descendants successfully petitioned the Army Board of Corrections and Military Service to eradicate his dishonorable discharge. And what you see on the screen now is Restoring Honor, the case of Chaplain Plummer. This is a video that another descendant put together. And if you want to know more about his military service, please take a look at the film. Now, Henry established the Bladensburg Union Burial Association in 1870. And then right here is St. Paul's Baptist Church, and this is where it all kind of started at. And this was Plummer's, Adam Plummer's home. And again, this is from the same book by Nellie Plummer. He organized this mutual aid society after an undertaker refused to conduct a burial because the family of the deceased could not afford to pay the cost of the funeral. Plummer, he intervened and he decided to actually pay for the funeral. But then after that, he had a community meeting where they got together and said, hey, let's put our money together, have a membership organization, so things like this doesn't happen again. But the organization provided financial and other assistance to help families doing health and other emergencies. And these types of societies were founded in rural and urban areas in different parts of the country, especially during the Reconstruction era, 1865, 1877. And here's just showing you a couple of artifacts in the collection. This is the banner, and this was the first name Bladensburg Burial Association there. And this is an image from one of the minutes books, the first one that we had transcribed. And that's the minute book there.
So, Jennifer, would you tell us a little bit about what you find most compelling about this collection?
Well, there's like a lot of information in here. Just by surveying the minutes books, we can see how they amassed their funds and how they allocated their funds to provide members and local institutions to support them during difficult situations. For example, we see up here the picture of the National Training School for Women and Girls, which is founded by Nannie Helen Burroughs in 1909, and she's the one sitting down in the middle there. Well, in 1929, there was a fire that destroyed the school, and the organization, the Burial Association, they actually contribute money to the rebuilding of the school. So you can see that self-help there. And quite frankly, that's just one of the great benefits of having this material transcribed, because a lot of people, when they look through these minutes, they really don't expect to see things like that, but it's there. And also another, and then you can see it here. I have an image of it, and then also the transcription. And that's taken directly from the Transcription Center.
Well done, volunteers.
That's right, thank you. And then you see next is where they noted in the minutes where Nannie actually responded and thanked them and a receipt. But we don't have that in the collection, but we have it in the actual minutes book where they noted that. But we also learned from the minutes books that the association was concerned with social issues on a national level, as illustrated by the donating funds to the defense of the Scottsboro boys. And that was a legal case pertaining to 9 African-American teenagers accused of violating 2 white women on a train in 1931. And you can see here, and that's something I really didn't expect to see, that they actually voted to donate funds to their defense. And the last thing that I thought was very interesting to find in there is that it talked about leisure activities. We can see where they were also collecting funds going to local beaches and resorts, Sparrows and Carl beaches, which were 2 beaches that were owned by two African Americans in Annapolis, Maryland. And if you can see, this is what I thought was just so funny. It was like secure 4 to 5 buses and 300 tickets for a round trip. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. It was a party, that's for sure. But that's really fantastic to see that detail. It really is amazing to see the events come to life when you're engaging firsthand with transcribing and then going through the transcription afterwards. You really begin to parse out that this was not someone just recording, we met and then we went home, but actually all of the details of the community and the commitment to supporting engagement activities, supporting national social issues, and also regionally affected people. One question before we go on to answer some questions about donation and preservation and digitization. Some things that I noticed in the members' minutes were a concern for the welfare of members. So if someone had not been at meetings, it was noted, not just because they were not present, but actually maybe we need to check on this person. Did you find anything interesting that is more on the kind of on the peer side?
What maybe that's the way I think, but what I also noted was that when someone didn't pay, they were very strict about
swift to move
as well.
Well, I suppose you have to be to keep track of things and keep the community running. So let's find what you can share with us about the donation, accession, preservation, and digitization.
Okay. The materials were donated by Henry Vinton Plummer, great nephew of Reverend Jerome Fowler, and he is still associated with the same church founded by his ancestor. As far as digitalization, we are still slowly going through digitizing and making it accessible. There are a couple minute books that date 1874, but they require preservation before we can get those digitized. So I would love to have those up at in the Transcription Center, but right now we need to focus on getting funds to preserve it.
Mm-hmm. Are those the typical kinds of preservation issues that you see with materials of that age?
Yes.
So the collection itself, this is the minutes that we were discussing as part of a wider collection, and the collection itself and the lives it encompasses connect to what sorts of things more widely at the Smithsonian and also at the Smithsonian's Anacostia Community Museum?
Well, definitely some insurance companies, records of insurance companies. There are like the Victor Mutual Insurance Company and the Supreme Life Insurance Company. You can find some materials related to that at the American History Museum as well. And as far as our museum, we have the Diary of Adam Francis Plummer, who was, of course, Vinton's father, and also the Plummer Arnold Family Collection. And that's mostly comprised of family photographs, a few family photographs, and also it documents the efforts of the family to clear Henry Vinton Plummer. And we also have artifacts like collars and banners and things like that, ribbons, things like that.
Some of those items you can search for in collection search at the Smithsonian, collections.si.edu. You can search Bladensburg Union Burial Association, and you'll actually get a chance to see those collars, the banners. Also notice pins that were in ribbons and sashes, which are really fascinating to see. Were these, do you know anything about how people wore or used those?
Well, in the minutes books, you actually can see them raising funds for that, for the banner, for the ribbons, and saying it's time to get a name tag, and you can actually see that.
That's right. We had one Transcribe Tuesday where we featured the minutes where they're describing the need for a more formal identity, which they wanted to signal through badges. So that was also very interesting.
I think it'd be really interesting to see photographs of them wearing. But we don't have that.
Well, maybe someday as we digitize, we'll make pathways with collections someplace else, and we can see some of those pictures.
Right.
So, what else can we? Let's take a look here at some of these administrative files. So, what else can we discover about the Bladensburg Union Burial Association?
Well, one thing that I think is very valuable about records like this is that they have a lot of family and genealogical data. So as you can see, what's up the screen now is applications, and we have approximately 200 applications that we're going to work on digitizing and actually putting on the Transcription Center. And it includes the name, the address, the age of the applicant, the beneficiary. So these are just a wealth of knowledge for those interested in family research. So you find applicants from Maryland, Virginia, and in DC.
So with these kinds of, this is a question more widely about researchers in general who come to Anacostia Community Museum for research, and they make reference requests to you. Do you see them asking for these kinds of materials frequently for genealogical and family search? Not necessarily purely the Bladensburg Union Burial Association, but other sorts of applications?
Actually, no. Really? And I think that's because a lot of people, at least amateurs, and when they're starting to do research, don't think about these types of materials. And so that's why we want to make sure that we get it out to the public through the Transcription Center, and really let people know that it's here and the value that these type of records hold.
Yeah, what a great opportunity to
Right.
make new pathways of research available.
Right. And what I like about the Collection Search Center, one of the things that I did a search in it for like Nannie Helen Burroughs, and then it'll come up. You will see the minutes book, and so you know that she was mentioned in that minute book. And then that's just so great because someone's searching, if they go to the Collection Search Center, if they put in a name, it'll come up.
It brings up the actual page in the item. And then one thing we should mention is that if you're interested in the Members Minutes book, you can go to the Transcription Center or via Collection Search, and you can download that item as a PDF for free and explore it for yourself if you'd like. And you'll get the image side by side with the transcription that was created by either your fellow volunteers or some volunteers that you may soon become peers with if you start transcribing.
And then also, I just wanted to mention there are wills also, about 30, and it's just the family relation that you can see in these wills right here. Like you see an aunt, the name of the aunt, and it's just a gold mine to me. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And also the sick certificates. And this is useful also for people doing genealogical research. Right.
Thank you very much for sharing the details of that.
We're
back again. So let's see if we have any questions coming in. And while we're waiting for those, I wanted to know a little bit more about, for example, you mentioned Henry Plummer had several siblings being involved in different parts of this process. So what was his wider family arrangement? How many siblings did Henry Vinton Plummer have?
Well, there were 18. There were 18, but I believe only 8 survived.
Okay.
And of course, Nannie Plummer, she wrote this book here. We got it, Out of the Depths or the Trumpet of the Cross. And Sarah Miranda, she founded the church. And Adam, of course, he wrote the diary, and he secretly learned to read and write. And he documented like activities and things like that, things that went on in the family on the plantation. But we really have to thank the family, the descendants of Adam Francis Plummer, because they really come together and they really they have such a legacy. And they're really proud of their contributions to the American experience.
Well, is there anything that you haven't shared already that relates to preservation of the particular items in this collection that you wanted to share about the process, what you know about the collection being preserved, and any particular challenges on the physical side of the collection?
Like I mentioned before, one of the biggest challenges I think there's about 2 of them that are the earliest minutes books that date from 1874. And those 2 are the challenges, and we have those. We had them looked at, and so we have them secured away from the rest of the collection. And but everything else is in good condition. But it's just those two books, actually, those 2 ledger books.
And there is an exhibit downstairs about the preservation of
it just closed.
Oh, sorry, it just closed.
Yes.
I missed the opportunity to see that, but there are blog posts about it, so you can read
the
about
legacy of my family. And also, I cannot go without mentioning this, is that the diary of Adam Francis Plummer was actually conserved by Smithsonian Institution Archives. Yeah, so
by Nora. Thanks, Nora.
Nora, thank you. Yes, so we're very grateful for that. And so now that part of the history is digitized and it's also accessible online.
That's fantastic. So is there anything that you would recommend as a next step for volunteers beyond transcribing if they wanted to learn more about this collection, the Plummer family? Which resources would you point them?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, of course, first place is Smithsonian Institution Archives resource page, but you can also go to your local Historical Society and check out that page, and also check out some of the I don't want to name names, but some of the archival supplies and organizations. Go to Smithsonian, Society of American Archivists page. That's a great page to start for resources and learning about where to go in your area. And I must say, when I did this presentation on the Burial Association, I was there was a person in the audience, and she came to me after the presentation and told me about her family, and that her family actually had an organization like this.
Oh, wow.
And she had all of the records still. And she was in Texas, actually. And I was just so fascinated. And she said that's how she learned how to read and how to be very excellent in math, because she handled all of the records and the paperwork. And just kind of talked to her about as to where she kept it in her home. She said she had file cabinets and things like that she kept it in, and like where in her house she kept it. But thank God she didn't keep it in an attic or a basement. So so that's great. That's great news to hear that this material, a lot of it is still out there. And I find that most of it is in personal hands, not really in institutions. And if you are doing family search, and I actually found out that my own family belonged to a burial association years ago, and I can't find their records, but one of the things you can do is try to find out, like, where they were buried and who were the community leaders who handled that. And you might find out that somebody, a descendant, if there still exists, if the records still exist, that a descendant of the owner or the community leaders still have those records.
That's right. So a very good tip if you're interested in genealogical research to consider correspondence and records, and to do a little sideways digging as opposed to straight. It's not always a straight direct route to figure out those connections, but sometimes those connections are surfaced. And with efforts like, as we're doing here with transcribing this, you make this more accessible, and then this resource from Smithsonian, from Anacostia Community Museum, can be connected with resources external for people who are doing genealogical research.
Right.
Well, I think we will go ahead and wrap up now.
Okay.
If you have further questions that you would like to ask Jennifer, or you would like to see some of these items, you can email us directly. You can contact Anacostia Community Museum and their archives. And Jennifer, as she mentioned, is one of the people who handles the reference request, so you'll be able to speak with her directly if you want more information about this particular collection. And then if you'd like to join us in transcribing, we are excited to launch
another minutes book.
And we'll have that up in just a bit at the end of this session. And also, if you'd like to join us just in general, we're at https://transcription.si.edu. You can transcribe anonymously, or you can make an account, and we welcome you to contribute your time, either one line or a whole page. And if you have questions, please do get in touch. Don't hesitate to use the feedback button. And we thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.